interviewing some of the biggest names in the sport of hockey and leaving it all on the ice. It's time for the No Holding Back podcast. Here is your host, Ben Holden.
Hi again, everybody. Welcome into an all-new episode of No Holding Back here on the Sin Bin. Thrilled to be joined today by Ottawa Senators defenseman Christian Wolanin. We go back a few years from his days in college. How are you, bud?
I'm great. Good to be back together, reunited.
It's good to see you again, too. And so, I have to say, I wasn't sure if I had the right jersey, but you told me offline that's the right one.
Yeah, the new logo. I said that was the first thing I noticed. Nice little touch on your part, but we're switching back to the 2D logo, as they call it in Ottawa, and they haven't released the jerseys. I believe that's the 6th of October, but they did announce the new logo a couple days ago, and I don't know about most of the other guys, but I'm a huge fan. I think it's nice, clean.
That's great. And I wore the shirt kind of as a tribute to you because you're a guy that has always played with a little bit of shake and bake. Are you a fan of that movie, by the way, or not?
Yeah, I'm not a big movie guy, so if I know it, it's got to be a good movie. But I did recognize the shirt as well, and I appreciate the compliment too.
Right on. You're very welcome. And Christian joining us from Grand Forks, North Dakota, where he spent 3 years playing for North Dakota and was part of the national championship in his freshman year in the 2016 season. So many may ask, I know, but why? Tell us why you're in Grand Forks right now.
Yeah, so obviously Detroit boy, as you know, and proud to be, but with what's going on in the world and in Michigan specifically, it was just too much to try and balance training and finding ice and nutrition and everything that goes into having a good summer, especially an extended one in this case. So I figured coming back to North Dakota, a place that I love more than anything, and I was missing it. It was my first time back since leaving, basically. So just the opportunity to come back here and train and kind of be a part of the team environment in certain situations is just I'm really lucky to be an alumni here and to have these doors still open for me.
Yeah, in some way, a bit. I mean, nothing's normal. We know that in the world we've all lived through in the last 7 months. But is it a little bit of a sense of normalcy, sort of, for you in that regard too?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, there's still rules, and obviously with the NCAA, there's more rules than you could ever imagine. But we got a good group of alumni here who are able to use the gym when the current team is not using it, and we're able to skate when the current team is not skating. Not like old times where the alumni could come and share the ice sometimes, or would play against them for some healthy competition. But still, just being able to come here and have the gym for 2 hours to yourself and have the ice for 2 hours to yourself is a pretty nice opportunity that I didn't think I could pass up. So good group of alumni here, like I said, and we're getting better every day. So that's all I can ask for.
That's great, man. So you have dealt with a significant injury. And we talked a little bit 3-4 days ago, and you had said, hey, the 20th of September was the 1-year anniversary of me getting surgery. So catch us up to speed. What happened, all those things, the injury, and just tell us kind of the gist of all the things you're going through with that injury.
Yeah, it was so long story short, September 14th. It was either 12, 13, 14, somewhere in there. We'll say camp started on the 14th. So usually a week before, 2 weeks before, guys start to show up and skate and work out and kind of get situated before camp starts.
Mm-hmm.
So the 13th, we're having one of those scrimmages. All the guys that are in town, it's optional ice. Most guys get out there just to keep their feet active and break a sweat. And just a freak accident the day before camp. Just a little slip in the corner. One of my teammates he fell and took me out, and I landed on my shoulder awkwardly and led to a torn labrum and a dislocated shoulder. So that was the day before camp. And then a week later, on the 20th of September, I get surgery and start the long road to recovery. And as I said to you on the phone the other day, it was a long year, a lot of ups and downs. I mean, I went through things and kind of went through adversity that I think is going to help me in the future, and found a way to take the positives out of it. But never how you envision starting your second year pro, for sure.
No, and that's what can you tell us in terms of what are you close? Where are you at with the rehab? How do you feel? And those things?
I feel great.
Yeah.
I really do. I mean, from the moment I returned, I couldn't give you an exact date, but I played my first 9 games back in the American League. then played 3 in the NHL after being called up after the conditioning stint. And just to even play those, I just felt blessed. Like I can't give enough credit to the people in Ottawa, and whether it's in the gym or in the training room for getting me back to 100% healthy. And then, I mean, you look at it like, oh man, you only got to play 12 games, but in my eyes, it's like at least I got to play 12. Corona could have hit 2 weeks earlier, 3 weeks earlier, and I would have got 0, and this off season would have turned into a 2-year-long off season. So, yeah, it was weird, like I said, but to even get back and play and be healthy, and now to have this much time to make sure that it's healthy is kind of a weird blessing in disguise.
Yeah. So you and I share that same kind of mentality, I didn't work for 6 months and I've done 2 games, and man, am I ever grateful, man. Where does that come from for you, and that attitude that I can just feel it. I know you, so I can feel it. Where does it come from?
I think it's a mix of everything that I was taught growing up. I think my dad has always said, no woe is me attitude. There's a lot of things I could be doing for a living that I wouldn't want to be doing. So to step on the ice every day and get to play hockey, I think it's the ultimate dream for me. So no complaints in that. And like you said, when you go through September 20th to March of not playing hockey, you really appreciate when you do get to play hockey, and you do get to even sit. My first practice back, I remember sitting in the stall because I practiced with Ottawa for a little bit before I went down to Belleville for that conditioning stint. I just remember looking around like, everybody's going through their daily stuff, and it's routine for them at that point. You're in February or March, right? So they've been doing it for a couple months. But for me, I remember just like looking around like a little kid on Christmas. You just get to hear the shin pads being taped, the sticks being taped, and coach drawing up drills. I'm like, you can't take it for granted anymore after going through an injury like that. So just a greater appreciation for the little things. And I guess I found out how fast it can be taken away from you.
Yeah, 100%. So was that when you came back, when you wore the old North Dakota green? Was that the first day when you came back? That was all over social media, as I know and you and I both know the passion that your fan base has. Was that the day when you wore that?
Yeah. So they usually go yellow for the injured guys in Ottawa, and the equipment managers have a busy job. So I had no jersey in my stall, so I go to the back. I'm like, can I grab a practice one or an injured one? They're like, yeah. And I saw there was like green, red, yellow, purple. And they're like, grab a yellow. I was like, you guys mind if I grab green? And it doesn't, as long as coach is fine with it. And I wore it out there, and obviously the guys are going to give me some crap and have a couple laughs about it. But I stay loyal to the Kelly green, and always loyal to my North Dakota roots. So
that's right, man. What's in the water, man? I mean, there's all kinds of Ottawa. There's like 2 handfuls of Ottawa guys the last few years, yourself included. Shane Pinto, Bernard Docker. Who am I missing, man? There's so many guys that Ottawa's picked. What do you think? There's got to be some kind of connection, right?
Yeah, I mean, selfishly, I'm going to take a little bit of credit for starting the pipeline. I always joke with Bubs and the staff in Ottawa about that, about me being the first to come out, and they must have liked what they saw. So they went with their next couple of drafts, heavy North Dakota. But I'm super, even just being around these guys like with Pinto and JBD, and just talking with them and seeing their development from the outside looking in. Obviously, I wish I was able to play with them still, but just really cool. And if we can bring the culture that we have here in North Dakota and sprinkle it into Ottawa on top of what we already have building up there, I think it could build into something special.
Yeah, I agree with you on that, man. For those that don't know, the culture where Christian played his college years is, to me, it's second to none in college hockey, and it always has been. So let's go back a little bit, man. So I got a little thing here in front of me. So I knew that you played Little Caesars, 09-10. You were a 14U guy. You played for them for 3 seasons. So what do you remember about those days, and who are some guys that hockey people may recognize names of that you may have played with or against in those years?
What I remember from youth, I played 8 years for Little Caesars.
Okay.
Lost 7 out of 8 years. We made it to the state championship 8 out of 8 years. Lost 7 out of 8 to Honey Baked.
Wow.
We won my last year there, before I left for juniors. So I remember a lot of life lessons in that. I remember staying loyal to Little Caesars. That was when people were starting to pop around, and that was when recruiting in AAA, which I think is jokes. But I remember like people were leaving, going to this and that team, and we had a solid core group of guys who stayed with Little Caesars and stayed loyal. So I learned a lot of life lessons through that, and I won't forget that. That's for sure. But players that I played against, let's see, we had Nathan McKinnon at Shattuck. A lot of my years growing up. I'm trying to think if there's an answer you're looking for. There's got to be if you brought it up, but
No, I mean, I just wondered. I mean, you had a teammate in college, I believe, was with you there, right?
Yeah, I did have a teammate, Cam Johnson. Yeah, Cam Johnson. We had a couple that ended up going to Western Michigan. No, I actually love Little Caesar. I still do. I still give crap to the guys who play for Honey Baked and Computer and all that stuff. But just a lot of good memories, and that's. I remember my dad always saying like, "This is when hockey's still fun." You know, after I'd be sad after a game or rattled after a game, he's like, "This is the funnest hockey ever is going to be," or obviously outside of college, but enjoy it while you can, because once you get out of here, it's a business. So.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned your dad, and your dad was man, I didn't realize your dad was a third pick in the draft. Wow.
Yeah.
And started his career with New Jersey in those classic uniforms that look like a Christmas tree.
Nice.
You were born in Quebec. So how was it that you ended up basically calling Michigan home? When did your dad and your family, when did you guys move to the great state of Michigan?
Just post-career. He was born and raised in Detroit. Yeah, he's born and raised in Detroit. So, as you said, he had a career that I can only hope to have with 13 years in a Stanley Cup. And, I'm super proud of it. He's the type of guy that'll never tell you unless you ask. And even if you do ask, sometimes he'll just say like, "No, it's not me." But super humble guy. And we just went back home where he grew up for him to raise our family, and him and my mother to raise our family. And I love calling Michigan home, as you know. So.
Yes, and the North Dakota fans are very, very familiar with me. That's all I talk about. You, Cam, and Colin Adams. Before, and I'm going to dive back into the path first, but while we're on the topic. So to my knowledge, the only guy I knew that went to North Dakota that was from Michigan, because it's not a very common thing. It's becoming more common because of guys like you, Cam Johnson, Colin Adams, but it was Matt Green.
Yep.
And I was told with Matt Green, and I don't expect you to know this or reply to it, but there was a disdain between he and Michigan State at the time, and he chose to go to North Dakota. And I always thought it was cool, man, because North Dakota they got a lot of Canadians, they got a lot of Minnesota guys. What was the allure for you to go to North Dakota?
It was kind of petty on my part, but I was never recruited by any Michigan school.
That's amazing.
I'll be the first to admit it. I probably wasn't deserving of being recruited, basically from when you start getting looked at, probably 15, 16-ish, to my first year juniors, my senior year of high school. I didn't think I was good at all, so I can't imagine what they saw. And then by the time I started to kind of turn it up my second year junior, and then when I really had my breakout year, my third year junior, yeah. I still didn't really have a lot of Michigan schools on the radar. So, for me, I wanted to go to the OHL my whole life just because my dad did.
Yeah,
and thankfully he was smart enough to tell me not to, because I wouldn't have the memories and the experiences and the best 3 years of my life if I hadn't chosen the college route. But I just remember like committing to North Dakota and laughing like, this is hilarious. I ended up not talking to one Michigan school, and now I'm going to go win a national championship at one of the best college hockey schools of all time. So I love the thought of being a Michigan kid and never getting a look, and kind of being able to keep moving forward. And they don't have the right to call me alumni or to call me a friend, or however they want to view it. Yeah. I love looking at it like that.
That's cool. Sorry. So I don't know if you know Connor Hellebuck and know his story. Do you know Connor?
I know just from skating with him occasionally, and obviously I know he's a Michigan guy with
same deal, right?
Career going.
Same deal. Yeah, he just won the Vezina, but kind of a similar deal, right? Like, I don't know him as well as I know you, and I don't know if he was recruited or not. But there's 7 schools in this state that play Division I college hockey, man. That always blew me away that you didn't get any looks from them. But now that you shared the story, I guess I understand it, and I understand where you're at, and I respect that. So I appreciate stuff. Yeah, man. So let's pick it back up. So you go to Green Bay, 54 games your first year and 12-13 a junior. What'd you learn that year playing at the next level?
Oh man, a lot. Like being away from home my first year was pretty tough, to be honest. You know, I'm a big family guy, and I mean, senior year of high school, you'd like to think that you should be ready, but it's a lot to handle.
Mm-hmm.
I actually loved Green Bay, the city, the people were unbelievable. I just quickly ran out of confidence, and I think confidence is one of the biggest things in hockey and sports in general. And it's one thing to have people around you, whether it be my dad or uncles or whoever, kind of leaders around me saying like, you got to get your confidence back, you got to pick it up. You know, it's easy to say it, but you don't really know how to get it back until you're in that situation. You learn to find it, and I never did in a year and a half in Green Bay, and I had to move on and right to Muskegon. I think Todd Krieger, who's now in Grand Rapids in the American League, I think him and Rich McKenna, who's a head coach D3 in Wisconsin. Those are two guys that just came and allowed me to be myself again. You know, just I had fun playing hockey again. I didn't have coaches breathing down my neck, yelling at me for little things instead of teaching me, kind of thing. You know, I think that's a big deal. And whether you want to call our generation soft, I like to think a lot of guys learn better like that when they're not coddled, but you know, they're taught, hey, it's not done like this, it's done like this. And then you yell if it's done wrong 2 or 3 times, you know, but that first time I just found a better way to learn. And like I said, I got my confidence back pretty quickly.
So it sounds like I was going to ask you about, you know, your first time being traded, quote unquote. It sounds like you embrace that like you usually embrace everything. Am I right?
Well, there's usually a phase. So, and this is, my mom and I talk about it all the time. I go like this, like, and it's not by choice, right? It's not like I'm just going to shut it down. Life happens to hit me hard. So my first year, like terrible. Second year, I'm kind of okay figuring it out. And then my third year, all right, that's enough. Man, I take off. And I did that for college. I did that hopefully for pro, because this will be my third year next year. So no better time. But I actually got called from Erik Karlsson, who's now the head coach in Tampa.
Yeah.
Called me on like the 22nd of December, 20th of December, somewhere in there, and said, hey, Christian, thanks for everything you did for us. We're going to trade you to Muskegon. And I, obviously a little flustered, I just called, like, thank you, coach, and hung up and just started crying right away. Like, started crying right away. I'm 1 year out of high school. I'm crying. I'm driving home. I was at a buddy's house when I got the call. I'm driving home, and I call my dad, and I'm crying. He's like, what's going on? I'm like, why are you crying? You're 20, whatever, 19. Like, I just got traded, and he comes home from work, and it's me, my dad, my mom. And he just looks at me. He's like, doesn't feel very good, does it? And I'm like, no. And he told me his first time traded when he was in the NHL. That was his very first time. He said he cried as well.
Really?
So it must be in the family, but he looked me dead in the eyes, and he's like, this is probably your last chance. You only have so many times where they can trade you around or give you opportunities. He's like, this time in Muskegon, I'm going to shoot you straight. This is probably your one time to start heading in the right direction and kind of make a name for yourself. And that was kind of my wake-up call.
That's awesome. So before we carry on with the career path and those things and, you know, get through to the present day, how many teams did your dad coach that you played on?
Just Little Caesars. Just like occasionally if we were understaffed or whatever the situation, he would just step in. And I think only once he was head coach, but we were real young. I think we only had like 11 guys on that team. That was when Honeybake started to take all our guys away. So,
Honeybake.
Just occasional, but like even then I was a forward. So we weren't really I mean, he was definitely hardest on me and definitely yelling at me from the D side down to the forward end, but he wasn't he was only coached for probably 3-4 years total.
Okay. I mean, I worked for my dad as a carpenter for 3 years out of high school. I mean, obviously, you know, I don't know what it's like to have a father that played in the NHL and had an incredibly good career, won a cup. It sounds to me, and you tell me otherwise, that you guys were incredibly close. And he sounds like he was more of a hockey dad that he was kind of hands off, so to speak. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he's definitely, him and my mother, as I will say over and over again, are the reason I'm here, my family in general. But he was definitely hard on me, and very, like, if I had a goal, it didn't mean anything. It was about my effort level. It was about playing hockey the honest way, as he used to say, playing hockey the right way, in other words. So it was never about points. It was never about being the best on the ice. It was always about kind of my development, which I look at now and say, like, he knew. You know, I'd be driving back and he'd be yelling at me after a 2-goal game. I'm like, what's going on? You know, and then I'd have 0 points across the board and he'd be like, that's how you play hockey. You know, and it took me a while to really understand, but he definitely was hands off in the right ways. You know, he never, and I'm proud of this, he never made a call to get me on a team. He never made a call to give me this opportunity. You know, like, for example, that program team, they invite 40 guys, and I was bummed that I wasn't one of them. And never would I want him to make a call, but I'm thankful that that wasn't even an option, you know, like, all right, you didn't make it, let's move on and go back to Little Caesars and get better, you know? So I think hands off in the right ways, and then hands on when needed to be.
That's awesome, man. That's terrific. All right, so let's get back to Muskegon. So you mentioned you had your breakout year. So 14-15, the year before you get to North Dakota. I got you for 56 games, 14 snipes, and 41 points, plus 14 and 107. That stat line had to make your dad proud, and you proud too.
I don't think it was the stat line that did it, but yeah, there was never a word about the goals or the points or anything like that. As I said, he was just wanting me to play the right way, and I like to think that when I play the right way, good things happen. Whether it be us having a good year and going to the finals, and for me, I play my best hockey when my teammates around me are good, and like I said, the coaches give me confidence to be myself on and off the ice. I think that's when things click. So. Obviously a pretty special year there, but all credit to Krieger and Rich McKenna, my two coaches there, and then the team we had that year was pretty special as well. So yeah, it was just everything clicking at the right time. I think I still lost D-man of the year that year to Neil Pionk, but he only had 4 goals, so I won't forget that. We've been battling for about 5-6 years now. So
I remember doing a few of those tilts, man, and you guys. We'll get into the college stuff, man, but you guys, Duluth and St. Cloud for that matter, Denver, I mean, you beat them in the Frozen Four, and we'll get to that down the road. But yeah, no, that's interesting. And, you know, so I got to tell you, so Alexis D. Molina, I know you know Lex.
Is he New York or New Jersey? He's a Jersey boy, isn't he?
Jersey now. He's working with Bryce Salvador. He's doing really well. So I sent him a text last night. And his father, of course, Carlos, who you know Carlos too, right? His dad.
Yep.
So Carlos has produced the NCHC games that we've done together on CBS since the league started, and Carlos and I are good friends. A couple things. I won't read you the whole thing. I just said, just give me a couple funny things I can surprise him with. He said, man, did he have swagger? I said, yeah, he does. That's part of your game. But he said to me, he said, you probably remember this, and I do now that I think back. He said, whenever you were in the starting lineup, you would always fly out to the blue line. He said, I can't believe he's never blown a tire. Have you ever had that happen in your career where because you did, you were like a friggin' rocket shot up your, you know what? Have you ever fallen like that?
So that's actually hilarious you bring that up, because guys, when I came back here, like Matt Kierstead, who's still at North Dakota, a good friend of mine, basically everybody in that left side. So if you're staring at the blue line, the left side of the net, I used to just mess around down there pregame, like just to keep the guys loose. That's how I am. I play my best when I'm loose, excuse me. But I just would mess around. I'd do like a couple hot laps down there or whatever, like just something to keep the guys laughing. And then I'd jet out there and do a full stop with a big snow spray. But just something to be funny. I don't know, keep the guys loose, know that we're there, like we're playing at the Ralph. It doesn't get any better than that. But yeah, I remember that, and luckily I never had a tire blown, because I'm not sure how my game would have gone after that.
Yeah, no kidding. No, I do remember that when he sent me that. He said to say hey too, by the way. So
tell him I said hello. That's
I will, man. He's doing well for himself. All right, so he kind of touched on, you know, none of the schools here in this state, the great state of Michigan, as I like to say, 7 D1 schools, they all said, nah, we're not going to give this guy a sniff.
Yep.
So you get to North Dakota, and that's when you and I first met. So it was, let me check my notes here to make sure I got this right. It was February 13th. You guys played at Denver, and that was the year you guys won the national title. And your SID at the time, the great Jason Hadjdu, he knew my affection for players from Michigan because I like to rep our state. I'm proud of where I'm from, just like you are.
And I really appreciate that for life.
Yeah, and so he says, you got to meet Christian Wolanin. I said, absolutely. You guys were in the parking lot of that Courtyard Marriott in Cherry Creek where you guys, the team stayed, we stayed, and came up, met you, you go out, and then you score the first goal. One of the best games, all kidding aside, Christian, one of the best college games I've ever called. The talent on that ice between you and your teammates in Denver had Dan Hine and Trevor Moore and Dylan Gambrell, and there's guys I'm missing, and Butcher, guys like that. The talent was off the charts, and you go out and score. You dangled like 3 guys. You get about, I want to say, about 35 feet inside the line, and you score the first goal of the game. Unfortunately, you lost, but you guys would have the last laugh later. What stands out about that game specifically that I'm referring to before we dive into your freshman year?
You know what? I probably scored and then sat for most of the rest of the game that game with the talent that was on that ice, like you said, and where I was at as a freshman. I'll never deny that there was a learning curve in my time here in North Dakota. So I was just probably thankful to get that goal and then watch, like you said, one of the best games you've ever seen. So just like you said, the talent, and I've said this from the moment I played NCHC hockey. I think if you can play in the NCHC and do well, you can play damn near anywhere. I'm not going to say guaranteed NHL because that's idiotic to think, but right. This conference is just loaded year in, year out, and to be able to play in here is just it can only help development. So to even watch games like that, that's what my dad always said growing up. Like, even if you're not doing a rep of practice, or even if you're benched, go watch. Say like, okay, perfect example in that game. I have Paul Ledoux, NHLer, Tucker Pullman, NHLer, Troy Stetcher, NHLer, and then you go across the blue line, you have Will Butcher, whoever was on Denver. Why not watch them and soak in whatever bit of knowledge you can? So, like I said, I probably didn't play a lot, but I probably watched a couple of high-end defensemen make some high-quality plays. So I learned something out of it.
Yeah, and you guys were swept in that series. And again, you had the last laugh in the Frozen Four, but you talk about all that talent. I mean, guys like Besser and Kajula and Schmaltz, and I'm missing guys. So forgive me for the North Dakota fans that are out there that'll probably call me out on Twitter because I forgot 5 guys. And that's okay. But those were the headline guys that you had on that team. So from that standpoint, though, again, you make another jump, and I've talked to hundreds upon hundreds of athletes like yourself in various sports. You make the jump from this level to that level to that level. So aside from speed and those things, what were things that you had to get used to as a freshman playing at the program you played at, and I'm not afraid to say this, the best college hockey league in the country? What are some things that you still remember about, mentally and physically and your development you had to adjust to that year?
I think it's just the same as I said to you, like you go through your learning phase where it's like, I know I'm supposed to be here, or else Coach Barry and Coach Jackson and Hackstall for me would have brought me in. But you gotta watch a guy like who my guy was Paul Ledoux. We didn't necessarily play alike, but he did things that I know I could bring in my game, whether it's just poise with the puck or his just heavy sturdiness, net front boxing out, little things that I don't think I do well. So I would always watch him and say, like, God, like, can he box out well? Like, what do I have to do to get better at that? And I think a lot of it is just having the awareness as a freshman to not get caught up in not being the guy yet, especially at a place like North Dakota. Not many people are Brock Besser, and that's obviously Brock is a special player in himself, so he deserved every bit of ice time and every goal that he scored. But not a lot of guys can come in like that and dominate. So for me, it was just number one, I had to get out of my own way and understand that I'm a part of something way bigger than my individual success. And 2, I had to realize that the little things I was getting away with in juniors, I mean, there's a reason I scored 14 goals and the next guy had 4, right? Like I was probably cheating a little bit in certain areas, and you're not going to get away with that in college hockey and survive. And I had a great guy in Dane Jackson back there on the D end, and even Bubs as the head coach. It's not as easy for him to get down there and talk with the guys, but just guys that would take you to the side for a second and say, like, that's not how we play here, or that is how we play here, well done. You know, it was kind of good balance between both. And I think the games that I sat out or the games where I didn't play as much were a good thing and a blessing in disguise, as I keep saying, to kind of teach me my lesson.
Yeah. Well, that year, you guys, correct me if I'm wrong, and I know you will. I believe you guys only lost 6 games. I mean, you won like 32. It was ridiculous what you did.
32, 6-4.
32, 6-4. There you go. I still got it.
Yeah,
It's all the Timmies, man, as you know.
yep.
So getting to the Frozen Four, you get Denver back. They got you the 2 games in Denver. And then you go to the championship. And it had been since the early 2000s since that proud program up there in tiny Grand Forks, North Dakota, had won a national championship. Share some memories of that team and that moment and what it was like afterwards for you guys to go back home with that trophy, man, and knowing that you guys had won it all that year.
So from an individual standpoint, I mean, I didn't play until the championship game. I sat for all the playoffs. So for Coach Barry and his staff to have faith in me being ready and me doing the right things to that point to put me in, I couldn't be more thankful to even get one game. And but B, more importantly, I mean, you come to the school for a reason. And I said it. There's an interview on YouTube of me as a 17-year-old or whatever in Muskegon, and they asked why I went to North Dakota or why I chose North Dakota. And I said I wanted to be a part of the greatness and contribute to the greatness if I can. And for like, that's all I think of when I think of North Dakota hockey. And still to this day, I come here and I walk through these halls and not for a second do I feel like I'm the reason for the hallways being built or I'm the reason for the trophies in the hallway. And I can guarantee you, I speak for the other however many alumni there are. You walk through these hallways and you're like, damn, I can't believe Matt Green played here. Or Eddie Belfour or Jonathan Taves or Oshie, and it goes forever. And I think those guys probably had the same mindset, you know, like you look back and you always play for the guys before you and the guys who are going to come in and they're going to carry that tradition on and on. And then as for the fans, like, you know how it is when you come to this building. My best friend, Griffin Molino, he played at Western Michigan.
Yeah.
He jokingly always says, like, man, pulling up to the Ralph is the worst thing on earth. He's like, I can't think of anything worse, especially for him, poor guy. Like his freshman year, he's playing, or his sophomore year, maybe for him, he's got a matchup against the CBS line. So it's like, in this building too. So, you know, we're getting at least 4 or 5 and the place is going to be bumping for all of them. So there's nothing like this place. There's nothing like the people in this town. And even coming back here as an alumni, I couldn't feel more thankful, and to be recognized occasionally or to have a conversation with a fan is just, I still have fun with it. Like, I love talking North Dakota hockey, and I'll probably get a lot of grief for it for most of my NHL career, but I won't stop.
Well, there's a lot of guys in the league, so you got a lot of guys to back you up, right?
Yeah, exactly. We are doing pretty well in alumni, so.
You are. I didn't know you and Molina. I loved him, man, as a college player. I didn't know you guys played Muskegon together, right? Yeah,
Muskegon and Little Caesars growing up a little bit. So, still my best friend. He's figuring out what he's doing with hockey right now. But yeah, we still laugh about Western Michigan coming into the Ralph. So.
I remember. I don't know if he was played in the game or not. You may. Well, he probably did if you did, but it was like 9-1, I think.
Yeah. It was at home. Yep.
Yeah, you smoked them.
Yeah, it's I can't say enough good things about this place. Whether it's, I mean, in going back to the championship, I forgot to answer that.
Yeah, no,
like, to bring a trophy back here. I mean, first off, you win in Tampa, the whole place is greened out.
Yep.
Then you go over to we were at some little outdoor bar as a team, obviously underage guys being smart, but they just got us up top, and you're looking down at a sea of green. And every single there's tears and there's flags and there's babies and there's, you know, like married couples like loving and kissing. Like, it's just like, I mean, I take little to no credit for anything I did in that championship run, but just to be a part of it and like to watch those people who had been fans since they were a baby finally get to celebrate again was probably one of the coolest feelings of my life. And the only thing that I wish is maybe I wish I would have done it as a junior or a sophomore, because then you get to go through the hurt and go through the times of struggle. But again, I'm not going to complain. A national championship at North Dakota, there's not a lot of people that get to say that.
No. And, you know, I've always told people that don't understand the fans and the support and what the program means to, and I think this could apply to the team you're playing for now in the National Hockey League, because it's in one of those Canadian cities. And I've always felt that it's like that. I mean, it's different for North Dakota in the sense that that's it. I mean, in that city, like Toronto, there's lots of other distractions, Montreal, Vancouver, I guess, but like community, I've been to Winnipeg when I was in the American League, up there, that's it. They live, they breathe it, man. They know everything about you guys and the broadcasters too at times. And how the hell they figure that out? But it's really cool. I've always had a lot of respect for that. And it's really, I had respect for it from a distance growing up outside of Lansing as a kid, because I was a Michigan State fan.
Yeah.
I always had a respect for their program, Christian, just the way they played and the way they went about things. So that's great stuff. So you play a couple more years, and in 17-18, your last year. Tell us about that decision. Was it tough? Did you come down? Did you go back and forth? How was it when you decided to ultimately finally sign with a team that drafted you and start your pro career?
I think everything's timing when it comes down to it.
Okay.
I think the year that I had, my junior year, was special individually.
Mm-hmm.
I did things that I would always wanted to do here. Like play as well as I thought I could have played, lead a team, be a part of the leadership group, be a part of the reason why things go well at certain points, with obviously doing so unselfishly.
Yeah.
And obviously that year, the worst part about that year is I think that we didn't make the tournament. I think that's what sticks with me the most.
Yeah.
I would give away leading the team in points or doing whatever in a second to make the tournament again and get another crack at it. But that being said, I did things that I don't think I could have repeated my fourth year. And had I been able to repeat it, I don't think it would have been good for my development. It wasn't goal scoring that I needed to work on at the NHL level. It wasn't moving the puck out of my zone that I needed. It was being heavy and being solid defensively.
Mm-hmm.
And I probably could have worked on it in my fourth year, but I think it was just the time to go and the time to let another guy like Matt Kierstead or Gabe Bast or whoever come up and fall into their role as the pattern usually goes. So it was not an easy decision. I think if I could go back and had I known I was going to spend my first year pro 50% in the American League, 50% in the NHL, I would have gone back for my fourth year. That being said, my time in the American League was huge in my development. So everything's you can always look back on things and say, I should have done this, should have done that. But I think it was just time to go and time to move on. And if I could have 20 years at North Dakota playing, I would take 20 for free in a heartbeat. So leaving this place is never easy. I don't care who it is. You can ask Osh, you can ask Taves, you can ask Besser, Jost for that matter.
Yeah.
Guys who are in and out. It's never easy, and it's never what you want to do. It's more just the timing and if it's the right thing to do at the time.
Yeah. You mentioned the time in the American League. So was it, again, we know the differences in that, but you touched on it. You had to be heavier. You had to be harder to play against. You mentioned boxing out earlier. Were those specifically the things that they're coaching you on every single shift and every single moment when you got into the pro game at that point with Belleville?
So I played the 10 games right after college.
Yeah.
We didn't make the tournament. Quick turnaround at March 18th. We finished on the 17th, my birthday, March 17th. 18th, I'm already getting calls from Ottawa. 19th, I'm having meetings with Bubs. 23rd or whatever, I'm signed and I'm on a flight to Ottawa. I was going to finish the season with them. They guaranteed the first game, and then the rest was whether I played good enough or not.
Gotcha.
Obviously, it's the NHL. There's no real guarantees, but
Yeah.
so I get there and I played pretty well in those 10 games. For a guy that's just stepping in, I was not disappointed or I did not feel out of place at all. But that being said, I remember my dad saying to me, he's like, you're playing guys that these are throwaway games for them, right? You guys are out of the playoffs. You're damn near dead last. You're playing the Winnipeg Jets, who are going 50%. You know what I'm saying? They don't show up and say we're not going to try that hard, but they show up all right, Ottawa, just get this over with and get out of here. So, had an okay summer going into my first year pro and just showed up to camp and I'll call a spade a spade. I just didn't earn my right to be on the team. I think after those 10 games, if you would have asked anybody in the media, anybody, they're like, Wolan's making the team next year. And another learning lesson, another rude awakening, which I think I deserve 100%. I'll never point fingers. I just lost my spot.
Mm-hmm.
So I went down to the American League, and Coach Troy Mann, who was there, he was in Washington's system for a long time. Unbelievable coach, like super detailed, super willing to go out of his way to take whatever. Like if it's Wednesday night at 5 o'clock, you could go to the rink and he'll still be there watching film. And if you say, Coach, can I please watch an hour with you, he'll do it every single time. Like an unbelievable coach, and for sure going to be in the NHL soon. But he took me under his wing and just knew kind of what I could bring when I'm playing my best, and taught me what I needed to do to be an NHLer. And I think when I got called up later that year, I was a completely different player than I was at the start of the year, for sure.
Yeah. Well, I know you plan on scoring many more, but I have to ask you about the first one you scored against, you mentioned Winnipeg, April 2, 2018. What do you remember about the goal?
Just right place, right time kind of thing. I hopped off the bench, looked at their left side, and they were at the left side of the bench, and they were changing. I'm like, all right, I got to get up there. And then Dzingel goes around. I think he tried to hit Zach Smith front door, and squeaked out to me. Hash marks kind of bottom of the circles area, and I was lucky enough to get one past Hellebuck. And I say it in every interview, but to turn around and see my childhood idol Erik Karlsson right there to greet me.
That's cool.
I mean, that picture, I'll have that picture for life. I mean, there's really nothing that can and you've watched me enough to know I like to celebrate, but when I turned around, I'm like, stay put, just go right to Carl. He scored way more goals than I have in this league. I'll be humble about this one.
So that was I didn't know that. That was the guy that you kind of patterned and looked up to, huh? Karlsson?
Well, I had been playing defense for 5 years up to that point.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, it's tough not to like a guy like that. Like Carl in his prime, and I'm not saying he's out of it, but when he was in Ottawa, tearing it up, and then you get drafted to Ottawa as a defenseman, he's the first person you're going to watch. And I started to tape my socks like him and tape my stick like him. And so I can't say it was childhood because he's not that much older than me, but definitely towards when I knew I was going to be a defenseman for a while, he was one of the guys that I just wanted to play like.
That's awesome, man. So we touched on it a little bit in the beginning of this, and your injury, and you kind of gave us an update on that and where you're at with that. So where do you stand right now in terms of you're just kind of playing a waiting game, basically, is what you're doing, right?
Yeah, similar to everybody else, just trying to stay mentally and physically sharp. I mean, it's unprecedented times for everybody. So we're here, like I said, good group of alumni that are just trying to work hard in the gym and on the ice every day. And Ottawa's done a great job of trying to keep everybody in touch and on the same page. And I'm just making sure that I'm not caught off guard by camp. I think last year I was more prepared than ever, and that kind of helped with my rehab, to be honest. I think if I would have half-assed that summer, kind of taken a day off here and there, I would have, and then got hurt, I think I would have just had so much regret. So I was really, really thankful that the injury came, and I knew I had done everything I could to like I said, it was a fluke accident. I couldn't have prevented it. And I knew I did everything I could that summer to be prepared. So I'm just making sure I'm doing the same thing again. You can't control those little things. Can't control Corona. You can't control when the borders are going to open up, or the majority of what's going on in this world right now. So I'm controlling what I can control, and I'm going to be ready whenever we get the call.
Yeah. I want to ask you too, so you could, share the story of we've all got experiences of quarantine, and you were telling me you spent like 2 months basically by yourself, right? When this all started back in March.
Yeah. So we were the last NHL professional sports game to be played.
Really?
We played in LA, so on West Coast time.
Yeah.
Last game, it was us against the Kings. The Jazz, who, if you remember, they were the first group of professional athletes to be diagnosed. They were in the locker room. They were in the same locker room the night before playing the Lakers.
Wow.
So we were on that LA swing on the Cali trip, and we were supposed to go to Chicago on like the 14th of March, something like that. And we play the 3 California teams. LA's the last one. And they're like, hey, we're not going to Chicago anymore. We're going home. So we go right from the hotbed, California. That was the first, like Santa Barbara County or whatever, Santa Clara County, something like that, was the first county to kind of be like the Corona hotspot. So we were coming right from it. Get back to Ottawa. They're like, settle in, like quarantine for 2 weeks, and then we'll decide what to do. And at the time, I just remember our family and even myself, we were just scared of Corona. It was just so blown up by the media and so blown up in so many ways. So my dad's like, stay there. He's like, you got a place, you're still renting your house, stay there, keep it safe. And for me, I was like, that's no problem. Like, I don't want to risk getting my grandma or my parents or aunt, uncle, whatever. So I stayed March to May in Ottawa solo, just an absolute mental grind.
And you're hurt on top of it.
Yeah, just it was really tough, to be honest, but survived, got home, had some good family time, and headed out here after about a month and a half at home.
Wow. What a story, man. It's it's affected us all. And your family good and healthy and all that?
Everyone's good. Yeah, everyone's good. I was thankful to get home and see them for sure after a long time off. And even now, like, I'd love to be at home, but they all know what's going on. They're pushing me to stay out here and to stay active and to stay ready for the season. And as I will always give credit, they're just supporting me, and I'm just trying to be my best to support them back and keep everyone healthy. So I think it's maybe best that I'm hanging out over here.
Yeah. So I got to ask you, since we're talking family, and I know we touched on your dad some, and when's the first time you remember going in an NHL locker room when you were a little tyke?
No NHL locker rooms, because I have pictures and stuff. Like, there's a picture of me in the Stanley Cup, and then I was maybe a year and a half old, so I don't have a single memory. Okay. But I remember the Red Wing alumni locker rooms.
All right.
So, like, my dad never played for the Wings, but just he's a Michigan guy, and they're pretty loyal, and he just became a part of the Red Wing alumni. So I remember going in there and seeing guys like Sean Burr and McCarty and Draper after they retired. And I just remember my dad, his one thing was, if you want to come in, you got to go around and shake every single person's hand. And that was his rule. He had to go and introduce yourself and shake every person's hand, and then you could do whatever. And I mean, those guys, just like most hockey players, just gentlemen. And I was a little kid, but just taking the time to say hello and shake my hand and all that stuff. Pretty special. That's awesome. Pretty lucky kid.
For sure, man. So the last thing I like to do on these podcasts is do a little thing called 2 minutes in the bin. Well, the sin bin, actually, since I'm working for them. I'm just getting my stopwatch here. I didn't write any down because you and I can just wing this, man. We've done countless interviews and talked over the years and all that. So I'm sure you're up for that. It'll be fun, right?
Yep, I'm ready.
It's me. I got a Timmy's. We're talking hockey, dude.
Always ready. This couldn't feel more normal.
Well, good. I appreciate that. All right. So again, I don't have them written down, so I'm just going to wing them here. We'll do 2 minutes in the sin bin with Ottawa Senators defenseman Christian Wolanin, and here we go in 3, 2, and 1. Your first car.
Chevy Impala, my grandpa's old one.
Your first job.
Sandblasting metal.
Really? You got to tell me a little more about that.
We'll get to it after.
All right.
It was my dad teaching me what hard labor was.
I like that.
That was his idea behind it.
Good lesson, man. That's awesome. That's good. I like that. Your favorite movie? I know it's tough, but
Step Brothers. Brutal answer.
Really?
Funny, hilarious movie, but I don't watch a lot of movies, so I don't really have one.
All right. Your favorite type of music?
Rap.
The greatest place hockey has taken you?
North Dakota.
Best player you played with in college? I know you're going to put guys out, and I know it might be
Nick
tough.
Schmaltz.
But who?
Nick Schmaltz.
Schmaltz. Best player you played against?
Charlie McAvoy.
Really?
I'm not saying anybody in the NCHC. That's why I was thinking so hard.
All right. Since you're a Michigan guy, Michigan or Michigan State, and why?
Michigan State, they were always the underdog for me growing up.
I like it.
And that's only for football and basketball.
All right. Best offensive defenseman in the history of the National Hockey League.
I mean, who leads points, you know?
I don't know. I mean, I'd guess Paul Coffey.
Yeah, I was going to say someone like that. I don't like saying people who are currently playing.
I understand.
You know, it's hard. And I grew up watching Richmond, but he wasn't necessarily – how was Chelios in points, in terms of points?
Yeah, but he wouldn't be more – he wouldn't be – I wouldn't consider him as an offensive guy, would you?
No. Brian Leach, maybe? Was he pretty offensive?
That's a good answer.
We'll say not my dad. That's my favorite answer.
Fair enough. And that is 2 minutes in the sin bin with Christian Wolanin. So
I should have been quicker on that. I can't even think of – that's pretty disappointing. My hockey history's got to get up a little bit. I might have to quit studying in school and start studying hockey defenseman.
So you got to tell me more before I let you go here and we wrap up here, more about this whole – you touched on a little bit, the hard labor thing. So it was at the point where I was getting 15, 16 and had a license and a car from my grandpa, hand-me-down car. Like, it was a little piece of junk, but a car nonetheless. And I wanted to get around and just no more. You can't really run your parents' credit card like for too long before they're like, all right, enough's enough. Yes.
So my dad's like, you know what? We're going to get you a job. And I'm like, I don't know how to get a job, you know? And so we had a family friend down the street, pretty wealthy man. And he's like, you're going to go and work for him. I'm like, oh, this is unreal. I'm going to make a lot of money. And 5 a.m. to noon every day. My first part of the day when it was still dark, I would go in and sandblast metal, just clean the metal with a sandblaster, quite literally. Like, you have their hands that go through they're in the gloves, and then you're looking through a little plexiglass and sandblasting away. And then when it would get light enough, I'd go in the parking lot and pull weeds and mow the lawn and weed whack. And then I'd go back in after that's all done and sandblast some more until my shift was over. And I did that for about probably a couple months. And then the next summer I said, I'll get my own job this summer, Dad. So I went to the golf course and did ballet. And I did ballet and I ran the cart barn, and still not fun by any means, but definitely better than sandblasting metal.
That's awesome, man. Nothing wrong with a little hard labor, man. And
I learned what I don't want to do. I learned nothing against people that do it, right? Everyone's got to make a living, but I knew right then and there that I wanted to try in hockey for a living.
Yeah. Well, I've said that for years doing what I do, man. I don't want to get a real job. I don't want to grow up. I'm going to be 50 in November, man. And I don't want to get a real job. I don't want to grow up, man. I want to keep talking sports and specifically hockey with guys like yourself and so many great people I've met up there, man. I can't say enough, what it means to do this with you and taking an hour out of your day. And, I'm always going to pull for you guys and, in your careers and, certainly those Michigan guys,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
God, dude. So appreciate your time and wish you the best. We'll be keeping an eye out when things get rolling in the league, whenever that happens. But thanks for this and, best of luck to you, man.
Yeah, I appreciate you. Always great catching up. Thank you for having me on, and thank you for staying loyal to the Michigan guys. It means a lot. We don't get a lot of love down there, but we're proud to be. That's for sure.
Damn right, man. Always will, man. Yes, Christian Wolanin of the Ottawa Senators. Thanks for his time and joining me on this episode of No Holding Back, right here on the Sin Bin. Until next time, an all-new edition comes your way. Thanks for watching.
You've been listening to the No Holding Back podcast. For the latest news around minor league hockey, download the Sin Bin app, now available in the Google Play and Apple app stores.